What's going on, Texas? It's Tuesday night. Time to talk some football. Welcome to our show here, where, as the Brahmas like to say, caca is in fact not a law, but an action you do in the restroom. I, of course, am the loudmouth of the South, SAJ, coming to you live from Lucas Pizza, the delicious, the incredible, the wonderful Lucas Pizza in Windsor Park Mall.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. I'm BD, and this week I'm going to be coming at you from the Mission Drive-In Theater, way on the south side of town, the lovely Institute of San Antonio that was there forever.
I do need to confess something about that wonderful Missions Drive-In Theater. The last movie I saw there was Mortal Kombat.
Ooh.
And it was phenomenal. that EDM music, when we all had, systems and we didn't have rent to pay and things like that, so we could dump hundreds of thousands of dollars, well, maybe hundreds of dollars in our stereos, right?
We thought it was hundreds of thousands, but
Oh yeah. Yeah, for us, scale-wise, it was.
Basically same thing.
Yeah. But we were able to entertain probably 6-7 rows of people. They didn't even have to have their car stereos on. They could just shut them off and listen to us, and everybody loved it.
Oh,
it's the one time that a really loud stereo actually benefited me. Otherwise, my hearing's gone. Who cares, right?
Who cares? What?
So, let's talk some football. Brian, how about them Cowboys?
They finally beat a team with a winning record. So, like I said, like I've been saying all season, let's see how they do. They lived or they did what they needed to last week. Seattle played probably what was their best game all season, and I was actually pretty nervous for that game going into halftime and stuff because Seahawks had a lead. But, kudos to the Cowboys coaching staff. They made some adjustments, made some nice defensive moves and stuff. They able to kind of get some turnovers, get some stops. Dak played a good game. So they won. They did what they needed to. Now we play Philly. So
I've got to ask Brian. I know what the answer is, so I'm not going to ask that question.
Okay.
But after this last week's performance, is he getting closer?
He's taken steps, but he still hasn't beaten the best of the best yet. Seattle's not the best of the best.
He has not. What is up, Brian and Jackie, by the way? Look at this. Brian's watching us from the Walmart checkout. That's awesome.
Awesome, Brian. Turn that speakers on so everybody else can hear you.
Yes. And Jackie is mean.
It's not nice.
Mean. So Jackie still says
not nice.
He's not the guy. But Jackie, after this last week's performance, is it fair to say he's getting closer to being the guy? That's what I need you to think about. And that's what I need you to respond to.
He will always be this far away from being that guy until he wins when it counts.
Okay.
That's it. I mean, he can toe that line, but until he wins when it counts, he will never be that guy.
Jackie says nope. He's not closer to being that guy. One game ain't enough, but hadn't it been 2 games?
One game against a good team. We've played garbage teams other than last week. So
that's true. That's a good perspective. So what you're telling me is that if they play Philadelphia this weekend and do they need to put up a good game or do they need to put up a win for you guys to say that he's one step closer to being the guy? Because you're not going to say he's going to be the guy yet.
No, absolutely not. Because it's still not winning time. That's playoffs. But he has to have a good game, and I mean, Cowboys have to have a win just for standing purposes.
Okay. That being the case, if they do not win this weekend, what happens to them?
They'll probably, they likely have the 5th seed locked up, unless they just go on a massive losing streak. But they're fighting for better. fighting for the NFC East. And I mean, Eagles are only one game up, so this win right here this week would be uh you know Cowboys need that if they want to win the NFC East, they have to
I'll
win.
allow that. You're right. You're right. Everything depends on this next game.
But you know what? I don't know. I'm a little nervous about this game because the way San Fran like just mollywopped the Eagles last week. So Eagles are going to come into this game pissed off.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a real good test for the Cowboys to see once again where they're at. It's not going to be an Eagles team that's going to be lackadaisical because they got embarrassed last week. So
Yep.
if the Cowboys can pull off this win, then they'll earn the win.
A thoroughly trounced 10-2 team is way more dangerous than a 10-0 team.
Yeah.
Okay. 10-0, they're not coming in with the same fire, the same hunger. Philly is going to come back looking for revenge on their next opponent.
No.
Unfortunately, it is going to be the Cowboys. If it was anybody else, you would see a thoroughly upset, hungry, ready to hurt somebody Philadelphia team. And you would probably say, you know what? Justified.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Now that they're playing you guys, it's going to be on. This is probably going to be one of the most important games of the season, if not the quintessential game this year.
I think for NFC East and possibly NFC playoff standings, you're right. I mean, other than Eagles 49ers was important for NFC standing purposes as well, but
Yeah. And Brian has some obsession with seafood or something. So
yeah, it's all right. We'll take care of the Dolphins in a couple weeks.
yes. Speaking of taking care of things, I think it is important that we talk about the Green Bay game. And there will be a do better moment. Okay.
Okay.
Let's talk about that game. Overall, I would say a somewhat impressive showing for Green Bay's defense. Definitely an impressive showing for Jordan Love and his air quote rookie receivers, right? Because some of them aren't actual true rookies. They just haven't actually played with Jordan Love. But Christian Watson is a rookie receiver. Romeo Doubs is a rookie receiver. But there are some other players, some of the tight ends and stuff that are not actually, they've got some experience. However, that being the case, I think it was a good game to a point, right? But that officiating was hot garbage,
dude,
across the board. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here's why I'm saying that. Here's what I mean. For all my KC fans, you guys have every right to be upset. That was blatant, textbook DPI, and it should have been called. However, the play that got you into that position in the first place was not unnecessary roughness.
No,
the quarterback was
not.
still in bounds. The only person that was out of bounds was actually the defender who stepped his toes across the line as he made contact. Okay? So that never should have been called. So that play never should have gotten the extra 10 or 15 yards that it got in the first place to get you into that position to make that play. Okay? But there were pass interference calls that were not called all game. There were other ones that were contestable, and there was just bad calling across the board. I saw holding on both sides of the line. So in that part, I will at least say the referees were at least consistent in being bad.
Yeah.
That game was one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen.
It feels like we're saying this every week, I think the only way to fix it is the NFL has to go to a penalty review system like what the XFL has.
Oh my gosh.
That's for those blatant ones.
Yeah.
And the refs need to start being held accountable for stuff. I mean, not not just you can't coach the Super Bowl because you made a bad call. No, you make an absolutely horrible call that affects a game because really, they call that PI. KC probably wins that game. They're down on like
I don't
the
agree, but okay.
well, I mean, what are the odds here? We're talking they're probably on what 10 to 15 yard line, but if you're making these massive horrible calls that affect the game as bad as it is, there has to be some kind of uh, uh, penalty or something to the refs. Like they have to be accountable for what they do for their mistakes.
Okay. Going into this last week, where is Kansas City? Let me find them. They were 2023 overall, 55% red zone scoring ratio, right? Their last 3 games, 58%. However, in that Green Bay game, they were barely in the red zone.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee. And if you look at the
Well,
possession
obviously
before
no
that,
guarantee, but
right. But if you look at the possession before that, they were in the red zone and they didn't score. They had to settle for a field goal.
yeah.
Okay. So arguments could be made either way, whether that could have actually helped.
We don't know. I wish
Right.
we would have been able to find out if
Mhm.
the correct calls had been made, but
I wish that game would have been called correctly so we wouldn't be having this conversation.
absolutely.
This is no different than what 8 years ago when we had the catch no catch debate. Okay?
Yeah.
Which was a debacle. And I've said it on air before. I've said it to all my friends. As a Green Bay fan, I fully support the call that was made because at the time that's what the rule was. However, was that a catch? In realistic terms, 100% it was a catch.
Mhm.
It just was not a catch according to the NFL rules at the time. But it's little things like that. And here's where the do better moment is going to come in. It's little things like that, such as, was that a true football catch? Was that a football move? Was that defensive pass interference? Was that unnecessary roughness? It's little things like that that can affect the outcome of the game that is solely dependent and solely the responsibility of the referees to make the right calls and to do it in such a way as to know that if they make the wrong call, that they're going to be penalized for it, not just from being kept out of the Super Bowl, but monetarily penalized to make sure that they are scrutinizing these plays to the fullest extent that they possibly can. So NFL referees, you have one job: call the game. So call it right, call it correctly, call it like the professionals that you pretend to be. Do better.
And there's so much. You said it, consistency. There's so much inconsistency, like game to game, week to week, all that. I mean, we talked about last week the linemen, taking steps and not getting false starts. There's
Mhm.
no consistency with that. I saw the Cowboys Seattle game. Seattle went and scored a touchdown. Uh, they reviewed the play. The ball, the receiver was going to the ground. The ball hit the ground and it kind of moved a little bit, and they called it incomplete.
Mhm.
Well, the broadcaster said, "Well, no, that should have been complete." But every time I've ever seen that play reviewed, that was an incomplete pass.
Mhm.
But the Philly 49ers game had a similar play, and that call was upheld. Like the guy went to the ground, the ball was on the bottom part. It hit, it moved a little bit, but he still retained possession. They called that one a catch. There's no consistency. It was the same play. That the one 49ers game should have been incomplete because that's how I've always seen that called.
100%. So, again, across the board, we're having an officiating epidemic in which referees seem to be getting worse and worse and worse, and there's no accountability for them. There's no punishment. There's no anything. And so, if I were an NFL player, I'd be talking to my union rep and bringing up some kind of case against the officials because this is just insane and uncalled for. Like to the point where people are having to go out of their way almost, I feel, to fully prove their case one way or another.
No.
Like they have to be in the stands to prove that they made it through the end zone to get a touchdown to count, right? or their spleen has to be hanging out of their body to prove that there was a PI call. Like, this is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
And it's ultimately up to the referees, not only to make sure that they're calling the plays correctly so that the proper outcome comes of the game, but they also need to be worried about player safety as well, right? You've got guys that are colliding into each other, and things are just all over the place. Sometimes they're going to call it, sometimes they aren't. There was a beautiful hit that was done this weekend that they thankfully did not call as unnecessary roughness, but it was a shoulder pad led tackle, knocked the guy flat on his back. He had to come out of the game, right? Right here. Right here. Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Picking up flags. Why throw the flag in the first place if it's not obvious? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
are you?
We saw that in the Cowboys game. Cowboys, there was
Oh my
3
God.
flags that were thrown and then picked up. And that, I mean, that one, there was a whole, what it is, like 270 penalty yards or something that game. It was stupid. Now, 95% of those penalties were legit because Cowboys and Seahawks are the 2 most penalized teams in the league,
Mm-hmm.
and that's on the coaching staff because they need to clean up their play. But there were a crap ton of penalties that were in that game. And yeah, there were 3 that were called but picked up.
There was a game that was played this weekend, and I believe it was a high school game in in Jerryland. There was a flag that was thrown on the play, and I swear the announcer said there's a flag on that play unless it was left over from last week's game. Okay? That should be an embarrassment. That should not, like, we should not be sitting here
Geez.
laughing about that, right? And what happens because of that? Nothing. Nothing's going to change, right? So somebody has to say something somewhere, right? We've complained about the officiating before. Uh-oh. Right here, Mr. James Carr. Okay? Different refs do cover different areas with different vantage points, but they need to be together and it needs to be consistent. And as Brian was saying earlier, the exact same play on 2 different teams should be called the same way.
Because they're supposed to go review it in New York. So it's the same people who are supposed to be reviewing these plays.
Yep. So Dean Blindino should be making all those calls, or whoever it is in the NFL. Okay. But the officiating, just in general, it needs to get better. And there you go. That is a Bill question. But I will say this. Okay. My hope is that there you go. 0 holding penalties in the entire game. Okay. I mean, that's an interesting question. I would love to be able to answer that, but I'm not an NFL officiating judge, so I can't really speak to that. What I can say though is that at some point something has to change, right? Maybe we need to review how penalties are reviewed, as Brian said, right? Maybe we need to come up with a different kind of system. Maybe the XFL might actually have something better, as Brian said.
Absolutely. Like adopt that penalty. Coaches have, whatever the the challenge. The challenges you can challenge whether there's a penalty or not. So I know they tried that a couple years ago with pass interference, and it was an absolute cluster. But they can implement that again and do better with it.
I mean, it worked in the XFL. We saw it all season long last year. Okay. All right. I think we beat the XFL or the NFL refs up enough. I think we should probably move on to the next topic, which would be the NFL injuries, specifically of one Mr. Trevor Lawrence, right?
Yes, which luckily is or hopefully not that serious. It's just a sprained ankle. He's not listed as out for next week, but these quarterback injuries, and I mean just injuries as a whole, but I think they showed up the stat last night. There's been not
true.
This is true, Bill. Well, we could beat up the refs for a whole lot longer, but
yes.
There's been 9 starting quarterbacks that have gone out and missed time with injuries.
Yep.
That's a ridiculous number,
That's
and
scary.
it is, and yeah, you can blame some of it on the turf and the field and stuff. Some of it's just stupid luck. Like, I mean, Trevor Lawrence had his lineman step on his ankle and then fall on top of him. That has nothing to do with the turf, but it's
No,
just
that's just blind
it's
luck.
it's ridiculous. And not just the quarterbacks. I mean, we've got Jefferson with the Vikings. We've got I can't even think like how many big name players have gotten hurt this year
I
and have had
believe
had to miss time.
I believe Travis Kelsey was potentially hurt in that last
He
game.
was he yeah, well, he was hurt to start the season.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, it's been crazy. These injuries have been ridiculous this year.
Yep. So that I wish I could offer speculation on what we can do to improve player safety in that. I mean, it is a physical game. We can't really make a whole lot of excuses. Oh, look, the
Yeah,
offensive
yeah,
lineman
that's
got
right.
hurt stepping on
He
Trevor Lawrence.
he was out for the rest of the game too.
Now, was that an injury or did he just feel bad?
I thought he felt bad at first, but I think it was an actual injury.
Okay, then I'll let that one slide. Um, but yeah, going into that game, I'm looking at like the injury list, and holy crap, the uh, Dolphins at the Commanders last week. You had probably 15 people on the Dolphins squad that had some kind of injury that were limited, right? Um, yeah, chances are they probably threw him out there and they probably played, right? Um, Jets had, a decent laundry list of players that were hurt. The Texans had a list as well. By the way, the Texans are doing well. They're not doing as great as I thought that they were going to do. With the Miracle Kid, but that's probably also because he doesn't have a whole team really around him.
They,
Again,
they won. They won last week, though.
they did, but I mean, look at their standings, right?
Yeah.
They're fighting for second place with the Indianapolis Colts. Speaking of which, I heard today that the Indianapolis Colts lost one of their defensive tackles to the Philadelphia Eagles. So that may
Right.
actually help out the Houston Texans gain some advantage in that AFC South.
Yeah.
And
Shaq Leonard. Colts released him
yeah,
last week, and 2 weeks ago, and he was visiting Cowboys and Eagles, and he was deciding between the two, and that bastard picked Philly.
and I'm pretty sure it was because of the money. I don't think it was anything else other than the money, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't see what the contract deal was, or even what he was offered by
I,
either team. So
I'm pretty sure Jerry offered him league minimum. So anybody other than that, he's going to go with, plain and simple, right? But so our friends that happen to be Jaguars fans, you're going to have to button it up. Make sure
yep.
your team is playing tight and right, okay? Because Houston is hungry. They're looking for an opportunity, especially now that they got C.J. Stroud. They're going to want people to actually go to their squad and make him a real contender. So just keep an eye on him. That's all I'm saying. But Trevor Lawrence, hopefully we find out good news here in the next day or so that it isn't. In fact, I haven't honestly seen any updates, but I also haven't been watching any kind of tweets or anything like that. So I really
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
saw this morning that it was just a sprained ankle.
Okay.
And they didn't list what his status was for next week. So
Okay.
I mean,
Well, they're probably
they didn't rule him out. So that's good news.
they're probably going to I love we got this little heated conflict between some of our uh yeah, I mean you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Talking about your friend Shaq, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
So yeah, Trevor is day to day. I mean, it's going to be one of those decisions where it may even come down to game time decision, right? It's just going to depend on how he takes care of that, how he rehabs that injury, and how quickly he bounces back. Now, granted, I mean, these are much younger cats than us, so you know, a leg injury for us would be like 7 months off work.
Oh yeah.
For them, couple of days, and they probably should be okay. So we have to wait and see what happens. But hopefully, we get Trevor Lawrence back, or well, the Jaguars get Trevor Lawrence back. That way, they've got their commander at the helm, ready to take them on to the next game. Who I honestly don't even remember who they're playing. It'll be okay, right? However,
they're playing the Bengals. No, they just played the Bengals.
yeah, Browning Super Bowl. Come on now, man. Come on.
Come on.
Although
man.
he did do pretty well. I mean, I'm not going to say anything bad about him. But I would still rather, I mean, if we're talking about trying to get to the Super Bowl, I would rather count on Trevor Lawrence. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, some crazy injuries, obviously. Speaking of crazy injuries, what are the chances that Awaska Hui comes back in December? Brian, that's a question to you.
Who?
You know
who? What? A who?
Magic
What?
Mushroom Tea Guy.
The what?
Mr. Aaron Rodgers.
Oh.
And his third place New York Jets.
Yeah.
He ain't coming back.
He ain't coming
At 4-8,
back.
he ain't coming back.
No. If they were anywhere near the playoff hunt, I think he would, but no. And they just freaking cut their third string QB, Tim, whatever his name is, and picked up somebody off of who was it? It was a practice squad player off of the Bears or something like that. I don't forget which team.
Ugh.
They're just running through quarterbacks this season.
You mean
like, you suck next. You suck next.
The 4-8 Chicago Bears? The Bears. Oh, gotta love those NFC North teams.
Yeah.
So I will say, Brian, he's not the guy. But Jordan Love is one step closer. After that game this weekend, he's one step closer. And I will say, at this point right now, if we don't win another game for the season, he will have done better than what most fans have predicted. Okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Get some real receivers around him, and he may actually be a threat. To who? I don't know, because the NFC North ain't what it used to be. Let's be honest. Okay? But we may actually be something.
You know what? There's potential. There's definitely potential. So,
well,
I'll give him that.
There's nowhere else to go but up than in the NFC North. So, okay, enough bashing on.
You could be the Bears. So
we could be. For a while, I thought we weren't even good enough to be the Bears, but that turned around. So we're just going to be grateful for what we have, right? We just got done with Thanksgiving. That's what I'm thankful for. There you go.
Thankful you're not the Bears.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk some XFL. So as everybody knows, the XFL has finally announced the merger with the USFL, that it is official that they are going to merge, that the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission have put their blessings on it.
Yep.
What else do we know at this point, Brian?
We have a season start date of March 30th. We don't know the team. We don't know the league name. We don't know what teams are going to be involved, but we know that it's going to be next season or this next season, and it's going to start on March 30th. And that's it.
That's the bottom line.
Everything else is rumor and speculation.
Yep. One thing I found that was very interesting is that there's all these speculations about what teams are going to be where, and how all the leagues and everything are going to be breaking down. Let's be honest, the people that actually know about this, and I'm not going to necessarily, I'm not going to mention any names or anything like that. But there's some information I'm going to show you here in just a little bit. But there were people at that event that we talked to, and basically everybody said two things. One, we don't know anything. And two, even if we did, we wouldn't be allowed to say anything, and we're not going to because we don't want to lose our jobs.
Absolutely.
Okay. So for all the speculations and everything that's happening, that's cute, right? That nobody really knows.
No.
Okay. And I'm not trying to poo poo on anybody's parade. You guys can talk about whatever you want and speculate about it or whatever. But please, 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 for the sake of journalistic integrity, do not state your opinion as a fact and pretend like it has some kind of validity. If you don't have a source, if you can't quote a source, please don't pretend like this is some real information. Okay? Unless you can post something from Russ, the head of the new operations, whatever the league is going to be called, unless you get some.
You know, so because like you said, we don't know.
Yep,
Hell, maybe they might not even know. You know,
yep. But you know what we do know, Brian?
what's that?
We happen to know this. I'm going to put this in the spotlight. This is what we know.
Oh yes.
The Lone Star Club, which is a new seating section opened up in the Alamo Dome, right? Uh, this is an incredible opportunity. Single game rates, 150 a seat, 650 for the full season. Okay. Um, this is an excellent opportunity. If you have not secured your season tickets yet, make sure you get out there and check these out. Okay. Look at some of these opportunities. Skip concession and bathroom lines. You have more of the games midfield. This is a 50-yard line seat. Okay.
Yep.
You can entertain clients, employees, and guests at this stuff. Okay. Exclusive event opportunities. This is an all-inclusive package. So for $650 a seat, you get the basically full reign at the concession stand. Now, this doesn't include like your alcoholic drinks and stuff like that, but I will tell you that the club level has its own bar.
Yep. You
And
your
there's
own private bar. You don't have to wait in line with all the other degenerates, and
Yep. So you see this guy right here with the eyes, Mr. James Carr. If you have not secured your season tickets yet, make sure you contact James Carr or one of his wonderful staff members and talk to them about these opportunities. Not only do they have this Lone Star Club seating section, they also have wonderful packages for some of the club boxes. In fact, Mr. James Carr, I'm going to give him some more mad props. Where is right here? Right here. Melissa Gonzalez was one of his customers that just scored not only uh, an incredible suite for the season, but she also scored the signed ball from Coach Hines Ward.
yep.
Okay, this is from the event that happened on Thursday. Horns Forward podcast and Texans Talking Football were invited to be there as part of media coverage, and so we got to be privy to all of this information. Uh, the main takeaway from that is that there are opportunities for some really great seats. So if you don't have your seats, please reach out to James Carr or one of his staff. Look into the Lone Star seating section and make sure that you are there because this next season, we need to be loud and proud. We need to show everybody in the XFL that we are a force to be reckoned with, not just on the field, but in the stands also, right? One of the reasons why people love and hate coming to San Antonio is because of you guys, the fans, because of how passionate you get and how much you get behind this team, right? Let's double that effort for this next season. Let's pack the Alamo Dome. Let's show everybody in the XFL just how serious we are about football here. And let's support this team and this organization and make sure it sticks around for a long, long time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we got to walk up and check out that section where the Lone Star Club is, and I mean they're really good seats. Like I said, right on the 50-yard line. In kind of in the press box area, really really good seats. So
Mm-hmm. The free concessions, just that alone. has made me wonder about my choice of seating. Okay? Because who wouldn't want to gorge themselves on some of the delicious fare that's at the Alamo Dome? Now, if it were any other stadium, I probably would be a little bit skeptical, right? But the one thing the Alamo Dome really does well is concessions. So, maybe it's some of those delicious Johnny Rockets burgers and dogs, or some of those wonderful fully dressed nachos that they have there.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
there's some incredible food, let alone all the wonderful alcohol you have to pay separately for, but all the alcohol that you'll have access to as well. Drink responsibly though, folks, right?
Absolutely.
Uber to the game, Uber home. Safest way. That's all I'm going to say. Now, again, get your tickets. Okay? Let's not be like St. Louis. Let's show St. Louis what the precedent actually is. Okay? Brian thinks it'll be a huge kick for ticket sales for the teams. You're not necessarily wrong.
I think so. Yeah.
But we know the Brahmas are here. The Brahmas are here to stay. Okay? So don't let that hold you back. Get out there, get your tickets. Because I'm telling
you can buy season tickets even without a schedule release. So
yep.
Get out there and get it done. It's still it's super affordable for for anybody. So
and I'm telling you, this next 2024 season is going to be a wild one, and you're going to want to be there for every step of the ride. Okay? Get your tickets. All right. Let's talk about the fiasco that is the college football playoff scene.
Oh, my God.
Brian, what happened here?
The committee is dumb.
Why is that?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that pretty much covers it. No, so I understand what we're trying to do. Their job is to pick the 4 best teams in college football to put them in the playoffs. I do think Alabama is a better team than Florida State. However, Florida State was undefeated. Florida State was already in the top 4. Florida State won their conference championship game. If you think Florida State is not good enough to be in the top 4, you don't put them in there from the start because they had already lost their quarterback. He was hurt early in the season. So if you have no intention of keeping them in the top 4, don't put them in there to start. If they're not good enough to make it, they're not good enough to make it. But to have them in there for the entire season, and then the last game of the season, when they win their conference championship, you push them out. That's not right. That's it's just not what they should have done. I don't think. I think as much as what I said a few weeks ago that I have a hard time seeing a playoff picture without a SEC team. I don't think Alabama should have made it this year because they lost to the other team that they should have been fighting a spot for, which was Texas. So I think it should have been Michigan, Florida State, Texas, and I'm missing the other one. No, I said Texas.
Yeah. No, I'm just throwing up the horns.
Oh, who's the other one? My mind just went blank.
Michigan, Alabama, Texas, and oh crap, I don't even know.
Yeah, yours did too. Yours went blank too.
Yeah.
Oh, now I feel dumb.
Whatever that 4th team is. Oh, here we go. The Huskies, Washington Huskies.
Washington Huskies. Okay, yeah. That's right.
Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, those should have been the 4. I think Alabama should have been out, and I think Florida State should have made it.
Yes. According to CNN, about 15 hours ago, from Ben Morse, he's quoted as saying, "This is a quote that he got from committee chair Boo Corrigan. Florida State is a different team than they were through the first 11 weeks," said Corrigan. an incredible season. But as you look at who they are as a team right now, without Jordan Travis, without the offensive dynamic that he brings, they are a different team. According to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee protocol guidelines, the decision is made based on a series of factors, one of which includes unavailability of key players. So what they're saying is because key players have been hurt, even though they still had an incredible season, even though they still did what they would have done with their key players, they are now ineligible because those key players are not there. What the hell? What is that?
I get that reasoning. I do. I understand that reasoning. But don't put them in the top 4 to start. You had your initial poll. They've been in the top 4 this entire time. If that's what you were going with, cool, fine. Put them at 6 and 7, 8, whatever. Put them outside of the top 4. Don't keep them in the top 4 the entire season and then push them out the last because they won their game. Don't punish them for winning their game. That's stupid.
Yeah, that is absolute nonsense. That's horse pucky, man. To have them knowing full well that their key players were injured and they were still racking up wins and still doing the things that they needed to do to get into the Final Four. And then to turn around at the last second and be like, nope.
No.
What is that?
That's bullcrap is what it is.
That's as bad as the officiating we're seeing in the NFL. I mean, come on, man. That's ridiculous. Yeah. You cannot punish a team who worked that hard and overcame even bigger adversities than most of these other ones, such as Texas or Michigan. And then tell them, nah, you don't have your star player. You're not in.
Yeah.
Right? That's like a popularity club kind of thing, you know? So,
I mean, hell, Texas lost their starting quarterback, a few weeks into the season. They should have been out too.
Yeah. And were they?
They kept on winning. So what's the difference?
Right here. FSU should be in there.
Absolutely.
And 100% they should be. And that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that you've got this really funky college football structure with these weird arbitrary rules that realistically don't make sense in the grand scheme of things, but you're going to use them to punish teams and reward other teams. Again, Brian, as you said, it would be weird to have a Final Four without an SEC team there, but there's no way that Alabama should have been in and FSU should have been out. Like that's just ridiculous. So this is going to be now the most tarnished, the most contested, the most hated college football.
Because there's been a lot.
Well, that's true. That's
tarnished and just stupid decisions that college football has had on their championship games. They can't get it right.
Michigan's out in the first round, by the way, Brian. Watch
absolutely.
And see.
Absolutely. They're going down.
Yep.
I mean, Harbaugh doesn't know who to record to who to film before the game, so he's not going to scout the people. When they guess finally, what?
That's another thing. So Harbaugh's reputation is tainted. How come he's not kicked out of the Final Four? Right? He's one of the key players, isn't he?
For 3 games against nobody teams. Well, I guess Ohio State, but 2 games against nobody teams and 1.
But he's still a key component to that program there, right? Mm-hmm. Based on those rules, shouldn't Michigan be kicked out also?
It's arbitrary, so no.
That's true. He's the fall guy. Now, to a certain extent, I will agree with you, Brian. I don't support many conspiracy theories. I will say I don't know that Harbaugh knew about everything that was going on. However,
he absolutely, whatever. You know what? We talked about this when it first broke, but you know what? I don't know if Brian was watching that show, so I'm going to reiterate it. He absolutely knew. He may have, set himself up to insulate himself to make it look like he could get away with it, but he absolutely knew. Of course, he knew.
Are you saying?
You know what? Even if on the obsolete chance that he didn't know, who cares? He's still the coach. It's still his staff that did it. So you know what? He's still to blame. But he absolutely knew. There's no way that any of his staff did any of that crap without him knowing.
And I got to support Brian on that. Again, I don't know if Harbaugh actually knew anything or not, but he's the leader of the organization. And as any anybody in any level of management can attest to. You are responsible for the actions that your team takes, regardless of whether you know about it or not. That's why you're encouraged so much to surround yourself with the proper team, the people that are willing to do the right things regardless, right? For you, for the organization, for themselves, whatever. Integrity, right? That's the important thing. So, regardless of whether Harbaugh knew or not, he's responsible for it. So he should suffer the wrath. But again, arbitrary rules, right? And so he's not really suffering the wrath now, is he?
No, he's
Because
not.
he got suspended for 3 games.
He got to take a few weeks off and rest and not stress about coaching game and stuff and kick his feet up, and he's back at it.
Well, 2 of those games he was able to.
Well, yeah.
So one of the games was actually an important game. So
he didn't have any stress with it because he wasn't there.
That's true. He was probably drinking Mai Tais somewhere.
Exactly.
And that's fine. But again, Harbaugh 100% is responsible regardless of whether he knew it or not. Okay? That's simple facts. Okay? Now, Brian, talk to me about the A&M Oklahoma State whatever bowl.
Well, that's the Texas Bowl, all right?
Is it the Texas Bowl?
It is. It's the Texas Bowl.
It sounds more like the Tidy Bowl.
It might be, but yeah.
How did A&M backdoor their way into a bowl game?
Because we won 8 games. We didn't win any games against any good teams, but
so arbitrary rules.
Hey, you only have to win 6 to be bowl eligible. So we were like 2 games above that. So
that's true. So you're in.
We're gold. We're gold.
You're in. And who's coaching? Jimbo Fisher obviously is not.
Probably the same interim, the defensive coordinator, which I've liked him coaching. No, absolutely not. Nope. Absolutely not. You're smoking crack.
It's Texas and Washington, or it's Texas and Alabama.
Yeah, because Michigan's playing Alabama.
Yeah.
The first game. Oh, they're dead. They're dead.
We're gonna find out. Okay.
Man, I forget the interim coach's name for the Aggies. But I've actually enjoyed watching him coach. I was kind of supporting potentially bringing him on as the full-time coach until he screwed up the LSU game in the second half. So, but you know what? He was still enjoyed to watch.
This is his first 4 weeks as a coach.
Yeah.
Cut the dude some slack, man.
No, absolutely not.
And that's why you Aggies will never get anywhere.
Nope. We're like Cowboys fans. We expect too much,
Yes. But
speaking of expecting too much,
speaking of good Texas programs,
what bowl UTSA playing in?
UTSA will be in the Frisco Bowl, and I'm trying to remember who the heck they're playing.
Frisco Bowl or Crisco Bowl?
Frisco, fool. UTSA is going to be playing Marshall in the Frisco Bowl. Right?
Oh, that's right.
But
is UTSA going to get their first bowl win?
I am extremely hopeful for that because I do believe that UTSA played Marshall once already and beat them this season. Let me see UTSA schedule 2023. They're playing the Marshall Thundering Herd. You know what? They actually did not play Marshall this season. They played Marshall in the past, and I'm trying to look at some of those Marshall games. No, you know what? It's not. They played North Texas because of the green. It threw me off.
I'll say Marshall, North Texas is the same thing.
No, because they've had their hands full with North Texas until recently, right? I'm looking back at 2021, I believe it was. Where was that score? UTSA got trounced by North Texas a couple of years ago, and like here it is, 2019 they got trounced 45-3.
Oof.
Okay, but then they trounced in 20 they trounced them 49-17. None of this has anything to do with anything. But I don't see where UTSA has played Marshall before. So this may be the first time in program history where they've actually faced off against Marshall. Now, looking at Marshall, their season was pretty decent. Um
6-6.
yeah, I mean, but they you know what?
You know,
They didn't
UTSA and Marshall have met 3 times when they were in Conference USA. Marshall leads the series 2-1.
That's why, because I didn't look back at the CUSA stuff. Okay. Marshall leads at 3-1.
2-1.
2-1. Okay, so this may be some sweet, sweet revenge for UTSA. Not only to beat a club who's beaten them to kind of tie things up, but also for UTSA to get their first bowl win. Now they've been to 3 different bowls. They have not come home with the victory yet. So this is going to be extremely important, not just for the fan base and the alum, right? But for Jeff Traylor to be able to hang that feather in his hat, because we just stepped up to the AAC, bigger teams, stronger conference, better gameplay, right? They have to win this game. This is an important game for UTSA to win, not just for bragging rights, but also for recruiting, right?
Absolutely.
Now that we're in the AAC, there's better opportunities to get some of these, stronger 4 and potential 5-star recruits, right? Which is only going to mean a better football program for Jeff Traylor. Now, I heard an interesting interview thanks to our friend XFL Mike G and the XFL Insider podcast. There was an interview that Jeff Traylor had done recently on one of the San Antonio sports shows, and they were talking to him about rumors and speculations about him moving to another program, whatever. And so he brought up how much it was going to take to buy out his contract, which is like a ridiculous something $1 million contract.
I don't want to hear ridiculous buyout after the buyout A&M just paid. There's nothing that can top the buyout that A&M just paid to get rid of freaking Dumbo Fisher.
True, but that was what you gave him to go away, okay? Mm-hmm. And that's on you guys. You got to manage your money better than that. That's what I'm going to say.
It ain't my money. I don't care. So,
but Jeff Traylor said, I mean, it was going to be something like, God, I can't remember what it was, like $10 million or something like that, something crazy, for them to buy out his contract. And he was like, I set it that high because I have no intentions of going anywhere. He's like, I don't like rumors. I don't like speculation. I don't like people making uneducated guesses on what we're going to do. I'm here. I'm here to stay. I'm here to develop and grow this program. Let's focus on what we need to do to make this program better, get more money in for the growth of this program, and let's bring real football here to San Antonio, right?
Yeah,
he's talking on college level, but
he needs university help for that as well. Going through him interviewing with the different schools, and obviously A&M being one of them, and he's interviewed with a few other schools.
He interviewed with Houston. I think.
And there's been a lot of talk about the facilities and stuff, the financial backing that these teams have from their schools, and so obviously people are posting stuff, and news people have talked about how Traylor has been asking for stuff from the university and has not gotten it.
Yeah.
So, and there was a student vote a year or two ago to help the team buy stuff. It was this year, and it got voted down.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of stuff that can't happen if you want your football program to be successful and to have a top tier coach stay as your coach.
Right.
So if the university continues to pushed back on Taylor wanting amenities or different stuff for his team, he's eventually going to go find another school that will give him what he wants, what he needs for his team.
Oh
So
yeah, there's already been two that were willing to make him offers, and he said no. So that
yeah,
should tell San Antonio and the University of San Antonio, or University of Texas San Antonio, school board, if you will, um, that
he's given him a chance.
yeah,
You know,
you guys need to invest. If you want that quality program here, like you guys are all vying for, then you need to invest in the program. Student body, I understand, right? This is something that's going to jack your tuition rates up. But if you want those bragging rights, if you want that ability to be able to go to your own facility, because God knows they don't want to play at the Alamo Dome forever, if you want that true college experience, the true college game day stuff that everybody seems to be striving for all the time, you absolutely are going to have to bite the bullet and pay a little bit more in your tuition every year and get that money in.
yeah.
Alum, give till it hurts. Okay, the athletics program, release those funds to Jeff Traylor. Let him do what he needs to do so we can start bringing in some of these serious five-star recruits that will be committing to some of these bigger programs like Texas or A&M or Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
Or God forbid, even University of Wisconsin, right? Let's bring some of those corn-fed boys down here to San Antonio where they could do some real good and some real damage and really put San Antonio on the map, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm telling you, a college football program, a successful college football program, does a lot for the city that it's in. Look at how
It does
much.
a lot for the city. It does a lot for the school. You know,
Mhm,
it brings attention to the school.
mhm.
So, you
Look
know,
at how much, and I'm going to use University of Wisconsin as an example. Madison is the capital, but you know what their biggest draw is? The University of Wisconsin. Okay. Now, when your college can have that much of an impact on the economics of your hometown, you can't tell me that having a top tier program is not important. Okay. So
oh, do you think
university,
anybody gives a crap about Bryan College Station if A&M
oh,
wouldn't be there? Absolutely not.
it wouldn't even be your thing.
No, no, no. So your school, you know, a top tier school can absolutely make your city.
Yeah. So that being the case, guys, you absolutely have to do your part, right? We can fund the program only so much by going to these games and throwing our dollars into merchandise and things like that, right? But the student body
It's got to come
approving,
from the university. It's got to come from the students, absolutely,
yep,
and the alumni.
yep.
You know,
And I understand a 2% increase or a 5% increase in tuition is going to absolutely hurt. I get that. But think about what you're investing in. You're not only investing in your opportunities while you're there at the school, you're investing in other people's opportunities as well. Okay. You have the chance to be a part of history and help grow a program to make it into what it should be. Okay. So, as
and
much as it's going to
it's
hurt,
an investment. It's not just an investment for other people. It's to make your school more reputable. So when
mhm,
people say, "Hey, this guy graduated from UTSA," that's a legit school. We should probably look at hiring him.
yeah. So, it's going to hurt, but approve these options, right? Dig deep. Okay. All right. I think we pretty much done our part for plugging the University of Texas at San Antonio and all that money. Brian, what do we have to look forward to this next week in NFL debacles?
Well, obviously, Cowboys play the Eagles on Sunday night, and I don't really care about any other games other than that.
You are such a
But
jerk.
who do your Packers play?
My Green Bay Packers are going to be part of one of the only Monday Night Football doubleheaders that I've known about in quite some time.
That's right.
Yep. My Packers are taking on your nemesis, 4-8 Giants. And we're going to be playing in New York. So it's not necessarily going to be a cakewalk, right? Green Bay is working on trying to find their stride. New York always likes to play spoiler. So that should be a very interesting game. However, On the flip side, we've got Florida Brian's 9-3 Dolphins playing at home against the 4-8 Houston Oilers, or what used to be the Houston Oilers. You know what? I don't even want to insult the Houston Oilers by making that comparison. It's the Tennessee replacements, right? That team is, I don't know how they got 4 wins. Okay, I really don't.
They're bad.
They bad, right?
Probably because they played the Jets.
That's probably one of them. But yeah, so the 2 important games that I'm interested in watching, well, 3 actually, is going to be your Dallas Cowboys against the 10-2 Eagles.
Yep.
Fight for first place, kind of. And really my Packers against the Giants.
We got Seahawks and 49ers. That's a good game for the NFC West. Bills and Chiefs. That's kind of a important game for the AFC.
I don't really care. The only other one I'm worried about is the 6-6 Vikings against the 5-7 Raiders, because if the Vikings lose that game and we win, we are skyrocketing to second place. Okay, which will seal a potential spot for us in the wild card.
Maybe the Bears can upset the Lions.
The Bears. I mean, stranger things have happened. We beat Detroit.
We beat the Lions
on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So stranger things have happened. But so that's kind of what we're looking at is, some important games, some not so much, mediocre games kind of. But there's still plenty of football, right? And you know what's great? As we're starting to get towards the end of the season and things are starting to wind down and the playoff race is really kind of playing itself out, that means we're one step closer to the XFL season. Whatever it may look like, we're one step closer.
You know what? We are, but now we're going to have to wait longer.
We're going to have to wait a little bit longer.
We have to wait about a month and a half longer than we did last year. Which I don't think we have enough time to go into, how I feel about all that stuff. But
let's say that for the next show.
Yeah, we'll save that for the next one.
And hopefully
maybe we'll save that till everything's officially announced, and then we can all give our full opinions on actual stuff.
Well, and hopefully by next show, maybe we'll have some more information. I mean, I doubt that that's going to happen, but it could, right? Yeah. It's all at the mercy of the people that are making the big decisions, the ones that are making the big bucks, not us. So
and I think one thing we should mention too, football for next week. We've talked about it, kind of mentioned in the last couple of weeks. Steele High School, Texas State playoffs. They won last week. They're playing Summer Creek, and if they win that game, they're in the state championship. So
they are.
That's the high school my son goes to. So I'm a Steele fan.
Still.
I'm still a Steele fan.
Still fan. There is one other thing that we do need to talk about also, right? And it's going to be the shameless plug once I bring up our I probably should save this to my desktop. But the January 13th event.
That's right.
And this is going to be a very important event. We've plugged the hell out of it, but it's important for us to remind you guys again that January 13th, 12th and 13th, we're going to be in Houston supporting our friends over in the Houston Roughnecks. Again, we're part of the X-Fan Legion, and I think it's important. Let me spotlight that. The X-Fan Legion has actually changed names, and I honestly don't remember what it is, so we need to make sure that we update our flyer with that. But the X-Fan Legion is doing a fundraiser event to sideline domestic violence, and this is going to benefit the Houston Area Women's Center, right?
There you go.
It's sponsored by the Houston Roughnecks fans and the X-Fan Legion. Your friends here at the Texans Talking Football podcast, and your friends over at the Horns Forward podcast, and several other podcasts that are part of the X-Fan Legion, right? Again, it's going to be happening at R&R Sports Bar, Saturday, 13th of January, 2023, 3 to 9. You can look them up on the interwebs, right? This event is sponsored by Oakley, Times Square, Old Smoky, and the Texas Ram Club of Houston chapter, right? There's going to be a bunch of silent auction items there. On the 12th, the night before, we're going to have celebrity bowling, which is still working out all the details. But Mike actually posted a great question. We're going to get to that in just a second. Let me finish this plug. But again, this is to benefit the Houston Area Women's Center. Please make sure that you're watching, either our show or any of the shows in the X-Fan Legion. There's a Facebook page that's going to be putting all this information out there. There's options for you to be able to bid on items, through the silent auction, all good kinds of stuff. And again, this is, to benefit the Houston Area Women's Shelter to do our stand to sideline domestic violence. Okay. That being said, now let's go to Mike Tackett's question. Mike presents a very great question, right? Cam Ward from Washington State, the best quarterback in the portal. Rumors in Columbus are either Ward or Arch Manning. If Ewers stays in Austin, will transfer to the 614. Buy or sell. What do you think, Brian?
I don't know enough about Cam Ward to be able to answer that. I haven't really watched him that much, so
I'm looking it up right now. Cameron Ward. His stats this year. 323 out of 485 attempts, 66.6% completion rate, 3,700 passing yards, averaging 7.7, 25 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Those are pretty good numbers. Let me look up Arch Manning.
He didn't play at all this year. He redshirted the whole year.
He did, but he should have 2022 stats. Should he not?
No, high school stats.
Oh, that's right. So, and truth be told, he played at least a couple of snaps because he's 2 for 5, 40%, 30 yards total, average 6, no touchdowns, no interceptions, longest pass was 17 yards.
So he played a couple snaps.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks for him. Lose your redshirt year just to play like 3 snaps.
Yep. Based on that, and that's if Ewers does stay in Austin. Okay. Let's Quinn Ewers, right? 2023, 248 completions out of 351 attempts. 70% completion rate, 3,100 yards, average 9, 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Longest was 73 yards. Those are pretty even comparisons, right? So
yeah,
if Ewers does go into the portal, it's going to be a really, really close tie. I mean, it's going to, well, not a tie, but I mean, it's going to be really, really close between Ward and Ewers as to who's the best quarterback in that draft. Arguably, both of them have their strengths and weaknesses, and they're not the same. If things work out right, this is what probably should happen, right? Ward and Ewers declare and go into the portal for the NFL draft. Manning stays behind, takes the Longhorns to another successful season. That's what should happen.
Yeah, but will
it wait that long, right? Because there's a lot of hype around Arch Manning, about him being an incredible quarterback. And arguably, based on his high school stats, you could say that he is. But I don't know. There you go. Ewers would go pro, if anything, right? Okay. So smart play for Arch would be to stick around and take over the helm and show what he's capable of. Because now, he's still, I would say, too much of an unknown. He probably would not get picked up if he went into the draft, because again, we're basing it on, we'd have to base the decision on his high school stats, and high school football is a different game than college. So I really don't think, and especially with all of his family members who have played at a professional level, they're probably all encouraging him to stick around, wait his turn, take the helm once Ewers bails out, and then refine his skills and show what he truly can do.
Right, so exactly.
I would say Ward and Ewers are probably going, and 2024 will be Manning's time to shine. So, okay, Brian, I don't think I got anything else. You got anything?
No, that's it. It's a
Okay,
long show today.
it was a good show today.
It was good. Yeah.
Around and talking to us. We appreciate the comments. We appreciate the questions that you're throwing out to us. We love the fan interaction and everything. We hope you guys enjoyed yourselves as well. SAJ, I'm signing out.
See you, everybody. I'm BD. Y'all have a good week.
We'll catch you guys next time. Horns forward.
Bye.